So picture a hospital room.
Okay.
Inside is a pediatric nurse. And for like 30 years, she has worked double shifts, right?
Right.
She's held the hands of terrified parents. She's dedicated literally every ounce of her energy to easing the suffering of others.
Wow.
Yeah. She is, by every conceivable metric, a profoundly good person.
Absolutely.
And right now, she is sitting on the edge of a bed receiving a diagnosis of aggressive late-stage terminal cancer.
Oh, man.
I know. And her life savings will just be, like, completely wiped out by medical bills within the month.
It's a devastating image. And the hard part is, it's one that happens literally every single day.
It does. Now, I want you to split the screen in your mind. On the other side of town, picture a corporate executive.
Okay, the classic archetype.
Exactly. And unfortunately, many of us actually know the reality of this guy. This is a person who has clawed their way to the top by lying, maybe stealing credit, laying off thousands of people just to secure a stock buyback.
Right, treating everyone around them with just absolute contempt.
Yes. Zero empathy. Not a single ounce. And today, they just closed on like a third vacation home.
Of course they did.
Their blood work is perfect,
Yeah.
and they are completely, totally insulated from any consequences. Basically, they're winning the lottery of life.
And that contrast right there is exactly what breaks our internal sense of justice.
It really does. It feels fundamentally broken.
It's the absolute definition of existential muddy waters.
Exactly. And you, listening to this right now, I guarantee you have your own version of this scenario playing in your head.
Oh, totally. Everyone does.
Right. You know someone incredibly kind who has just been hit by like an unrelenting string of tragedies.
Yeah.
And you definitely know someone notoriously selfish who seems completely bulletproof.
It's wild. Because usually when we talk about fairness, we expect a ledger.
Like accounting.
Right, like accounting. You work hard, the ledger balances, you get paid.
You study, you pass the test, it's clean.
Exactly. It's transactional. We want the universe to be this reliable binary equation of cause and immediate effect. Basically, a cosmic vending machine.
A cosmic vending machine. I love that. But then you look at the nurse and the executive, and suddenly that vending machine is just shattered on the floor.
Right. It doesn't work.
And it makes us ask, literally, the most universal, frustrating paradox in human history. Why do good people often encounter bad things?
It is the question. The one that has, haunted philosophers, theologians, and just everyday people trying to make sense of their lives since the beginning of human consciousness.
Right.
Because if good doesn't automatically equal safety,
Uh-huh.
and bad doesn't automatically equal punishment, then, what are the rules? Are there any rules at all?
Well, unpacking that is our entire mission for today's deep dive. We are going to map out the hidden, highly intricate mechanics of fate, action, and consequence.
And we have some incredible sources to help us do this.
We do. We are pulling from a fascinating stack of research today. We're looking at ancient Buddhist texts.
Specifically, the Mahakammavibhanga Sutta.
Yes, and the Lonaphila Sutta, and the Mahakammavibhanga Sutta. I practice saying those, by the way.
Ah, you nailed them.
Thanks. But we aren't just, reading ancient history here. We are pairing these texts with incredible modern academic analyses from Thai philosophical scholars.
Right, who are actively translating these ancient concepts into, contemporary psychological frameworks.
Yeah, including something they call the BUM model, BUM.
Which is fascinating. But right out of the gate, I think we need to offer a very clear disclaimer for everyone listening.
Oh, absolutely. Go for it.
While these sources are explicitly rooted in Buddhist theology and Eastern philosophy, our goal today is not to convert you or preach a specific religion.
Not at all. We are just looking at the architecture of the ideas.
Exactly. We are impartially reporting on this ancient framework because it operates as a profoundly sophisticated psychological system.
It really is.
It's a brilliant mechanism for understanding cause, effect, human resilience, and honestly, how we process the seemingly random cruelties of life.
Yeah. Even if you view it purely as a secular psychological metaphor, the mechanics described in these texts offer a startlingly relevant toolkit for modern survival.
They really do.
Okay, so let's start tearing down the old framework. If we want to understand why the good pediatric nurse is suffering, we have to absolutely shatter our Western misconception of karma.
Oh, 100%.
We have to throw away the idea that you put a good coin into the machine on Tuesday and instantly get a good snack on Wednesday.
That is the most common and, frankly, the most limiting misunderstanding of karma out there.
Right.
We treat it like an instantaneous feedback loop.
Oh, right.
But the sources we are looking at make it very clear that karma does not work in a straight, immediate line.
So it's not 1 + 1 = 2 in real time.
Definitely not.
So to get foundational here, if it's not a vending machine, what is it? The sources point out that at its absolute core, karma is defined by one single element: intention.
Yes. In Pali, the word is cetana.
Chitat.
Right. The text explicitly states that the Buddha defined karma as intentional action. Quote, "It is intention that I call karma. Having formed the intention, one acts by body, speech, or mind." End quote.
Wow. Okay.
This is a crucial distinction that people often completely miss. Action without intention is not karma.
So let's put that in a real-world context for you listening.
Mm.
If you are driving down the street, completely following the speed limit, paying full attention to the road,
Right.
and a dog darts under your tire from behind a parked car and you accidentally hit it.
Horrible.
It is a tragedy, right? But it is not bad karma. You didn't intend to harm. You had no cetana.
Exactly.
But if you see the dog, get annoyed that it's in your way, speed up, and actively aim for it.
Well, that is cetana. The physical action, the car hitting the dog, is identical in both scenarios.
You're right. The outcome is the same.
But the mental state, the volition behind the act, is the actual engine of the karma.
That makes so much sense.
Whether the action is mental, verbal, or physical, it's the intention that plants the seed.
Mm-hmm.
But, planting the seed brings us to the first major paradigm shift of our discussion today.
The concept of the time lag.
Yes, the time lag.
Now, I don't want to steal your thunder here, so I want you to explain this because the Thai scholars provided a brilliant analogy for this temporal complexity.
Oh, the Samtum versus Durian concept.
Yes.
Yeah.
Walk us through how this explains the time lag.
It's a perfect, tangible way to understand delayed consequences. So Samtum is a traditional Thai papaya salad.
Okay.
When you make Samtum, you chop the green papaya, you throw it in a mortar with chilies, lime, and fish sauce, you mash it up, and you eat it immediately.
Instant gratification.
Exactly. The preparation and the consumption happen in the exact same narrow window of time.
Right, so some actions in life are like Samtum. If I put my bare hand on a hot stove, I get burned instantly. If I walk into my boss's office and just start screaming obscenities, I get fired instantly.
Yeah.
The cause and the effect are tightly coupled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But other actions, and this is where the cosmic ledger gets incredibly complicated, are like planting a durian tree.
A durian tree, okay.
If you plant a durian seed today, you don't go out tomorrow morning expecting to harvest fruit.
Right, it's just dirt.
Right. You have to wait. You might have to wait 5 or even 10 entire years for that tree to grow, mature, and finally produce a durian.
Wow.
The action, the planting, was taken half a decade ago. But the result, the tasting of the fruit, is only experienced today.
Okay, I want to make sure I'm grasping the scale of this. If karma operates on a time delay, like a durian tree, then the quote-unquote bad thing happened to me today, let's say a sudden financial crisis.
Okay.
That isn't a punishment for, like, the little white lie I told yesterday. It's essentially a rotten durian I completely forgot I planted years ago. Or, depending on how deeply you follow the theology, maybe even lifetimes ago.
That is exactly the premise.
Yeah.
You are harvesting a crop you forgot you planted.
That is wild to think about.
And when people say the universe is random, these texts argue the exact opposite. They argue the universe is hyper-organized. We just can't see the back-end code.
The back-end code.
Yeah. The sources go into staggering detail about how this massive delayed harvest is organized. They actually break down the hidden gears of karma into 12 distinct classifications.
12. Okay, and I want to dig into all of them because understanding this machinery is really the only way the good people suffering paradox starts to make sense.
Absolutely.
So let's start with what the scholars call the functions or the duties of karma. Like, what is the karma actually doing to your life path?
So there are 4 functional gears. The first is Janaka Karma,
Tanaka.
right, which translates to productive or generative karma. This is the foundational gear.
Okay.
It's the karma that literally produces your baseline reality. It dictates where you were born, your basic physical constitution, your baseline temperament. It sets the stage.
Okay, so it builds the house you have to live in.
Precisely. It builds the house.
Yeah.
Then you have the second gear, which is Upatamaka Karma.
Right. Upatambaka.
Or supportive karma.
Okay, supportive.
This is karma that doesn't create a new situation, but it props up and extends whatever is currently happening.
Interesting. How does that work?
Well, if you are going through a wonderful period of success, supportive karma acts like a tailwind, keeping the success going longer than expected.
Oh, nice.
But if you are sick, negative karma Supportive karma might be the thing that keeps the illness lingering for months instead of weeks. It extends the duration.
So it's basically the momentum gear.
Exactly.
Now, what about the gears that interrupt things? Because that's what we are really talking about with sudden tragedies, right?
That brings us to the third function, which is upapalaka karma, obstructive karma.
Obstructive.
This is the friction gear. It weakens or frustrates your current trajectory.
Like bad luck.
Yeah, imagine you are about to close a massive life-changing business deal. You've done everything right, but suddenly the client's funding falls through, your lawyer gets sick, the paperwork is lost.
Ugh, the worst.
Right, that string of unexplainable bad luck. That is obstructive karma, stepping in to weaken your forward momentum.
So going back to my analogy, it doesn't destroy the house, but it constantly breaks the plumbing so you can't enjoy living there.
Right. And then we have the fourth and arguably the most terrifying functional gear, upakataka karma, destructive or cutting karma.
Oh boy.
This is the out-of-nowhere plot twist. This karma doesn't just obstruct, it completely uproots. It can suddenly intervene and completely stop a current streak, whether good or bad.
Wow, okay. Like our pediatric nurse.
Exactly.
She has a baseline of good health, which is janaka. She has momentum in her career, which is supportive. But then, boom, the terminal diagnosis.
Yes, that is upakapeka karma. It's a powerful negative seed from the past that suddenly ripened and literally chopped down the good tree she was currently climbing.
It intercepts and destroys.
It does,
Yeah.
but this raises the obvious question, right? If there are millions of these seeds, generative, supportive, destructive, all waiting to sprout, how does the universe decide which seed sprouts today? What is the order of operations?
Yes. The priority queue. This blew my mind when reading the sources because it's like a cosmic fast pass system at a theme park.
Fast pass, yeah.
Not all seeds wait in the same line.
They really don't. The sources outline 4 priority gears known as the order of fruition. The absolute heaviest hitter, the one that cuts to the very front of the line no matter what, is Garuka Karma, heavy karma.
Heavy karma. Okay, what qualifies as heavy?
It's an action that is so profoundly significant, so deeply ingrained with intense jhana or intention, that it supersedes all other timelines.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, on the negative side, in Buddhist tradition, this would be an ultimate atrocity, like murdering a parent or causing a schism in a spiritual community.
Okay, yeah, that's heavy.
On the positive side, it would be achieving incredibly deep, profound states of meditative absorption, like the jhanas. If you have heavy karma on your ledger, it is guaranteed to ripen first, pushing all those other durian seeds to the back of the queue.
But let's be real here. Most of you listening aren't out there committing patricide.
I had not.
Right. And you probably aren't achieving transcendent, glowing enlightenment on your lunch break either.
Probably not.
So for the average person, we don't have much heavy karma. What drives the priority for us?
That brings us to the second priority gear, which is arguably the most psychologically fascinating one, asana karma, or near-death karma.
Near-death karma, the state of mind right before you die. I was honestly shocked by how much weight the ancient texts put on those final moments. Why is the dying mind so powerful?
Because the final moment of consciousness acts as a massive tipping point for the next phase of existence. If you don't have heavy karma, the mind's focus at the exact moment of transition dictates the immediate next destination.
Wait, how does that work?
Think of the mind like a spotlight. If, in your final moments, your spotlight is focused on anger, terror, deep regret, or hatred,
Okay.
that intense negativity acts like a magnet. It pulls a matching dark seed from your vast past to the absolute front of the line to ripen next.
Oh, wow. It's like cramming for a final exam.
Yeah.
If you've been a C student all year, but you absolutely ace the final exam because of a moment of pure clarity, it shifts your entire grade.
Yes.
But conversely, you could be a straight A student, have a total panic attack during the final, and fail.
That's exactly it. If your mind is peaceful, forgiving, and focused on goodness at death, it pulls a positive seed to the front. This is why many Eastern traditions put massive emphasis on dying peacefully, surrounded by calm, rather than panic.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, but again, most of us aren't dying today. We are just trying to get through the week.
Right.
If we aren't creating heavy karma and we aren't on our deathbeds, what is deciding our fate on a random Thursday?
That is the third priority gear, asana karma, or habitual karma. This is the bread and butter of our lives.
Habitual karma.
It's the stuff we do repeatedly until it becomes our default.
I love this one because it completely maps onto modern neuroscience. We talk about neuroplasticity, right? How neurons that fire together wire together.
Yes.
If you habitually lie to avoid awkward conversations, you literally carve a neural pathway that makes lying your default state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The ancient texts didn't have fMRI machines, obviously, but they understood the mechanics perfectly.
Yeah, they really did.
If you habitually practice generosity, or if you habitually practice petty gossip, those repeated actions build a massive gravitational pull. If there is no heavy karma, and the near-death mind hasn't triggered yet, habitual karma is the steering wheel.
So the things you do every day carry more weight than the grand gestures you make once a year.
Precisely. And then the final priority gear, the lowest on the totem pole, is katara karma, accidental or light karma.
Accidental karma.
This is the loose change in your pocket. These are actions done with very weak intention. You swat a mosquito without really thinking about it. You hold the door for someone while completely distracted by a text message.
Oh, right.
The intention is there, so it counts, but it's incredibly weak. This karma only ripens if all the other higher priority categories are completely empty.
Okay, so we have the functions, which is what the karma does, and we have the priority, which is when it gets to cut the line.
Right.
There's one more set of gears to make up the 12, right? The time of fruition.
Yes, the timeline.
Yeah,
Briefly, these are the Dhamma.
that's a mouthful.
It is. It means karma that ripens immediately in this current life, the samtum we talked about earlier.
Got it.
Then there's Gupaparjavedanya, which is karma that ripens in the immediate next phase or next life.
Okay.
Then the Paraparyavedanya, karma that ripens indefinitely in the future, the deeply buried durian seeds.
It's the long-term stuff.
Exactly. And finally, ahosi karma, which is defunct karma.
Wait, defunct, like the statute of limitations runs out.
In a way, yes. It's karma that never found the right conditions to ripen and its energy has expired.
Oh, interesting.
Or, in the case of someone who achieves total enlightenment, they break the cycle of rebirth entirely, meaning all their remaining stored seeds instantly become ahosi karma. They are defunct because the soil they were supposed to grow in no longer exists.
Okay, that is a massive, intricate back-end system.
It really is.
And understanding that these 12 gears are constantly grinding behind the scenes is literally the only way we can make sense of the next text.
Yes.
Because the Buddha actually took this entire system and used it to categorize humanity. This is found in the Mahakammavibhanga Sutta, which translates to the Great Exposition of Karma.
And this text categorizes people into 4 distinct types based on their actions and their resulting destinations, meaning what they experience.
Okay.
2 of these types make perfect logical sense to our Western transactional brains.
Right.
But the other two completely short-circuit our sense of justice until you apply the 12 gears we just talked about.
Okay, let's lay out the 4 types. Type 1. A person performs bad actions, they are cruel, and as a result, they go to a bad destination. They encounter suffering.
Makes total sense. Do bad, get bad. The ledger balances.
Right. Then type 3, we'll skip 2 for a second. Type 3, a person performs good actions, they are ethical, and they go to a good destination. They experience prosperity.
Again, makes sense. Do good, get good.
But here's where the text throws a wrench into everything. Type 2. A person performs terrible actions. They are unethical, they cause harm, but they end up in a good destination. They prosper.
Yes.
They win the lottery. They get the promotion.
This is the corrupt executive buying the yacht.
Okay, I have to push back here. Because when I was reading the sources, I was like, you're telling me that a guy who embezzles millions, ruins pensions, and buys a private island is just experiencing the time lag.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How does the source text explain type 2 without sounding like it's just giving terrible people a cosmic free pass?
Right.
It sounds like an excuse for the ruling class to justify their wealth while stepping on the little guy, you know? Like, oh, I'm rich because of my past karma, don't question me.
That is the exact danger of misunderstanding this sutta. And frankly, it has absolutely been weaponized that way historically.
I can totally see that.
But the text itself does not give them a free pass at all. It actually diagnoses them with a fatal unseen condition.
A condition.
The text explains that this prosperous bad person is essentially cashing in old merit. In their vast past, they planted massive, high-quality seeds, perhaps habitual or even heavy positive karma.
Okay.
So what you are witnessing right now is not the universe rewarding their current embezzlement. Yeah. You are witnessing the delayed harvest of their past good behavior.
Ah. Okay, so my analogy for this is the cosmic trust fund kid.
Oh, I love that.
The corrupt executive is basically a trust fund kid draining a massive bank account that someone else, their past self-deposited.
Yes.
They are living high on the hog right now, but they are writing checks their current morality can't cash. They are making zero new deposits.
That is a brilliant analogy. And the tragedy of type 2 is their blindness.
Blindness.
Because they are currently experiencing wealth and health while actively lying and stealing, they falsely associate the two. They think, oh, my ruthlessness is what makes me successful.
Oh, right, because that's what's happening right now.
Exactly. They develop what the texts call Mahakammavibhanga wrong view. They believe morality doesn't matter. They are entirely blind to the cliff they are sprinting toward because eventually the trust fund runs dry.
Wow.
And when it does, the massive orchard of rotten seeds they are planting today will begin to fruit.
That is terrifying for them. Which brings us to type 4, the absolute core of our discussion today, the pediatric nurse.
Yes.
A person performs good actions, they are ethical, they are kind, but they end up in a bad destination. They encounter severe, unearned suffering. Why does the good person suffer?
It's just like the trust fund kid, but in reverse. They're paying off an old debt.
An old debt.
Somewhere in their unremembered past, they planted a toxic seed. Regardless of their current undeniable goodness, that old bill has finally come due. An upagataka karma, a destructive gear, has intercepted their life.
Right.
Or, as the text points out, they may have succumbed to a wrong view in a crucial past moment, which pulled that negative karma to the surface.
You mentioned wrong view, Mikadithi, but the sources also talk about Samadhithi, right view.
Yes, right view.
I really want to expand on this because the academic analysis of the sutta points out a massive takeaway. The scholars explicitly argue that this text destroys the idea of karma determinism.
Oh, it absolutely does. Karma determinism is the fallacy of fatalism. It's the belief that everything is completely pre-written, that your entire life is just a script you are forced to act out.
Right.
If type 4 means you're just paying off old debts, you might throw your hands up and say, well, why bother being a good nurse today?
Right.
I'm doomed by my past anyway. The cancer is my fate.
Right. If the seed's already planted, why water the garden?
But the Buddha explicitly rejected this fatalism. We're not blindly playing out a script. The right view or wrong view that we hold in the present moment acts as a powerful magnet.
A magnet. How does that work mechanically?
Well, right view samadhi is the deep understanding of cause and effect. It's understanding impermanence and maintaining compassion even in hardship.
Okay.
If you cultivate right view in the present, your mind creates an environment that actively attracts your past good karmas to ripen. It provides fertile soil for the good seeds, and it acts as a drought for the bad seeds, delaying them or weakening their impact.
Oh, so the present moment is the soil.
Exactly. The present moment is the soil. But if you fall into wrong view, if the nurse says, I was good my whole life and I got cancer anyway, so being good is a scam, and she becomes deeply bitter, resentful, and cynical.
Which is an understandable human reaction, honestly.
Totally understandable. But that bitterness is wrong view. And that specific mental state acts as a magnet, pulling more of her past negative debts to the surface. She waters the rotten seeds.
Wow. So to go back to my financial analogy.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The bad person prospering is the trust fund kid draining the account. The good person suffering is someone aggressively paying off their cosmic credit card debt.
Yes.
The universe isn't punishing them for being good. They're just taking the hit now, making the painful payments so they can finally be debt-free.
It is a necessary, albeit painful, reframe. When the good person suffers, it is the settling of an old account.
But I'm going to push back again here.
You it.
Even if I accept that this tragedy is just old debt, paying off debt hurts.
It really does.
If I get hit with a terminal illness or my house burns down, it's intellectually nice to know it's old debt, but viscerally it feels like it's going to crush me.
Of course.
If the cosmic debt collector shows up and we have to pay, does it have to destroy us? Is there any protection?
And this is exactly where the source material pivots from the harsh mathematical reality of the ledger to the profound practical hope of human resilience.
Thank goodness.
This leads us to arguably the most beautiful text in the collection, the Lonaphila Sutta.
The salt in the river. Listeners, if you are driving or doing the dishes, pause for a second and tune in here.
Yeah, this is the big one.
If you take nothing else away from this discussion, take this concept. This is the text that provides a lifeline to the good person encountering bad things. It fundamentally changed how I view hardship. So walk us through the analogy.
The Lonaphila Sutta addresses the exact anxiety you just raised. How do we survive the impact of past bad karma?
Right.
The text uses a physical analogy.
Mm.
Imagine that bad karma, the old debt, the sudden illness, the financial ruin, is a solid lump of salt,
Hmm.
a concentrated, bitter, heavy lump of salt.
Okay. Salt is the trauma.
Yes, and imagine that your current good karma, your present merit, your developed character, is water.
Okay. Water is my character.
Correct. Now, imagine a person who has never developed themselves. They don't practice kindness. They have zero emotional regulation. They are entirely selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Because they haven't developed themselves, their water is just a tiny little drinking cup. If you drop that lump of salt, let's say they lose their job,
Yeah.
into that tiny cup of water, what happens?
Well, the water becomes completely saturated instantly. It becomes incredibly salty, bitter, and entirely undrinkable.
Exactly.
The small bad event completely overwhelms their small emotional capacity. They are destroyed by it. They lash out. They become bitter. They ruin their relationships.
Precisely. The salt ruins the water.
Yeah.
But take that exact same lump of salt, the exact same bad event, the exact same job loss.
Right.
And instead of dropping it into a small cup, you drop it into the massive flowing Ganges River. What happens to the
The river doesn't even notice. The water remains completely drinkable.
Right.
The taste doesn't change at all. The lump of salt is exactly the same size. It has the exact same karmic weight. But the volume of the water has fundamentally changed the reality of the experience.
Exactly. The volume changes everything.
I want to pause here because this was a massive aha moment for me. We usually think of doing good as a way to buy a protective shield.
Right, like armor.
Like, oh, if I am a good person, bad things will bounce off me. I have a force field.
But that's not true.
No. But the salt analogy implies something completely different. The bad thing still goes into the water.
Yes.
The salt still dissolves. The goodness doesn't block the suffering. It expands our capacity to absorb it without becoming bitter.
That is the profound, liberating realization of the Lonaphula Sutta. A good person experiencing a bad event does not mean their goodness is failing them.
Wow.
Their goodness, the vast river of their character, is actually actively diluting the bad karma right in front of them.
It's saving them from being psychologically destroyed.
Yes. Think of the pediatric nurse again. The cancer is the salt. It enters the water.
Right.
But because she has spent 30 years cultivating deep compassion, patience, and love, because she is a river, she doesn't become a bitter, angry terror to her family.
She remains herself.
Right. She experiences physical pain, yes, but her mind remains gracious. If she hadn't built up that vast river of merit, this exact same diagnosis might have driven her to despair, cruelty, or absolute mental collapse.
But the goodness is keeping her afloat.
Exactly. It's turning what could have been a fatal psychological blow into a manageable, localized pain.
Okay, so the immediate, desperate question for anyone listening who feels like they're currently a tiny cup of water is, how do I become the river?
That's the question.
How do I actively expand my capacity so that when the salt drops, I don't turn bitter? And the Thai academic sources point to a framework outlined in the texts called the Havana Four, or the Four Developments.
Right. To become the river, you have to actively develop 4 specific dimensions of your life. Havana literally means cultivation or development. It is an active daily practice.
Let's really unpack these because this is the practical toolkit right here.
Okay.
Number 1 is Kaya Bhavana, physical development. But when I read this, it clearly isn't just about hitting the gym and getting a six-pack, right?
No, it's much broader and deeper than that. While it absolutely includes taking care of your physical health, Kaya Bhavana in this context is about developing a proper, non-reactive relationship with your physical environment and your sensory inputs.
Give me an example of what a weak physical vessel looks like.
A weak physical vessel is someone who is a total slave to every physical craving or discomfort. If the room is a little too hot, they throw a tantrum.
Oh, I know people like that.
We all do. If they feel a slight pang of hunger, they become completely irritable. If they have a spare moment, they're compulsively addicted to doom scrolling on their phone for dopamine hits.
Ouch, okay, calling me out.
Haha, calling all of us out. Their physical senses completely control their mind. Developing Kaya Bhavana means having discipline over your physical inputs. It's the ability to sit in a slightly uncomfortable chair and not lose your peace. It expands the physical banks of your river.
That makes total sense. Okay, number 2, Sila Bhavana, moral development.
This is the ethical boundary. This is the commitment to not harming others. It's practicing honesty, not stealing, not exploiting people for your own gain.
How does that expand the water, though? Like, why does being honest make me more resilient to bad luck?
Think about the psychological load of an unethical life.
Okay.
If you are constantly lying, cheating, or hurting people, you carry paranoia. You carry subconscious guilt. You are constantly looking over your shoulder to see who is going to catch you.
True. That's exhausting.
Exactly.
Right.
That paranoia shrinks your psychological space into a tiny cup. When you live an ethical life, Silahovana, you remove all of that weight. A clear conscience is a massive, expansive volume of water.
Oh, I love that.
When disaster strikes, you don't have the added burden of thinking, who did I cross to deserve this? Your mind is clean.
A clear conscience is a massive volume of water. That is brilliant. Okay, number 3 is Siddha Bhavana, mental or emotional development.
This is where the real depth of the river comes from. Siddha Bhavana is cultivating emotional resilience, deep concentration, and positive mind states like compassion, loving kindness, and equanimity. It is literally training your mind not to panic at the first sign of trouble.
So this is meditation.
Meditation is a primary tool, yes, but it's also just everyday mindfulness. A mind that has been trained in concentration doesn't immediately turn a small lump of salt into a catastrophe.
Right.
When the boss yells at them, the untrained mind spirals into, I'm going to be fired, I'll lose my house, my spouse will leave me. The trained mind, the Siddha Bhavana mind, observes the boss yelling and thinks, the boss having a stressful day, I will address the issue.
It observes the salt dissolving without absorbing the bitterness.
Exactly.
It's the shock absorbers of the mind. And the final one, number 4, Panabhavana, wisdom development. The sources call this the ultimate diluter.
It is. Panabhavana is the deep, fundamental understanding of the reality of cause and effect. It is the internalization of literally everything we've talked about so far. It's understanding impermanence, that this pain will pass.
Yeah.
When you truly develop wisdom, you stop taking the salt personally.
Stop taking it personally. That's huge.
It's everything. You realize the salt isn't a targeted attack by a malicious, hateful universe trying to ruin your Tuesday. It's just a lump of mineral dissolving in water. It's an old seed sprouting. Wisdom is seeing reality without the distortion of your own ego.
So if you cultivate your physical discipline, Kaya, your moral boundaries, Sila, your emotional resilience, Sita, and your deep wisdom, Pana, your cup becomes the Ganges River.
You become the Ganges.
Wow.
And if we want proof of how this works at the absolute highest level, the sources provide a perfect historical case study.
Yes, the ultimate stress test of the system.
Exactly. It is a story of someone who had cultivated the ultimate Ganges River capacity, but was hit with a massive, terrifying block of salt.
We're talking about the fate of Fra Mahamoggalana, and I want to tell this story, but I'm going to be totally honest with you here.
Yeah.
I genuinely struggled with the conclusion of it. It is staggering, and it pushed my limits of accepting this philosophy.
It is meant to challenge you. It's a tough one. Let's lay out who he was. Moggallana was one of the Buddha's 2 chief disciples. To put his status in context, he was an arahant.
What does arahant mean practically in the context of what we've been talking about?
It means he was a fully enlightened being. He had completely eradicated all ignorance, craving, and hatred from his mind. He had achieved the absolute peak of the Bhavana 4. His mind was entirely liberated.
Right.
He was the epitome, the absolute pinnacle of a good person.
And according to the texts, he wasn't just a wise monk, right? He was renowned as the foremost disciple in supernatural powers.
Yes, he was.
The texts say he could read minds, travel through dimensions, perform miracles. He is basically a spiritual superhero. If anyone in the history of the universe has a protective force field of goodness, it is Moggallana.
Exactly. Yet despite being fully enlightened, flawlessly ethical, and possessing immense supernatural power, the texts record a brutal, violent end to his life. While he was meditating alone in a forest, he was ambushed by a large group of hired bandits.
And it wasn't a quick, clean assassination either. The texts describe it graphically. They beat him relentlessly. They literally crushed his bones to pieces.
That's horrific.
They left him for dead, looking like a pile of crushed straw.
And this immediately forces the observer to ask, why?
Right.
Why didn't his immense supernatural powers save him? He could have flown away. He could have turned invisible or read their minds before they arrived. Why didn't his immense perfected goodness protect him from such a horrific, violent fate?
Exactly. And when the other disciples found him, they asked the Buddha this exact question. And the answer the Buddha gave is really the linchpin to understanding this entire framework.
It is.
The Buddha explained that Moggallana was hit by the ultimate Garuka karma, heavy karma.
How?
A massive bill came due from a deep, deep past life.
In a previous lifetime, many eons ago, Moggallana had been a dutiful friend taking care of his elderly blind parents.
Yeah.
But he was manipulated by his wife, who despised taking care of them. She convinced him they were a burden. Eventually, yielding to her manipulation, he took his blind parents into the forest, pretended they were being attacked by bandits, and beat them to death himself.
Oh my God. It is an unthinkable crime, murdering your own defenseless blind parents.
And this brings us back to the ironclad rule of the cosmic back-end system. There is absolutely no power in the universe, not even the supernatural power of an enlightened arahant, not even the highest pinnacle of spiritual purity, that can outrun heavy past karma.
Wow.
The bill must be paid. His supernatural powers failed him in that moment because the sheer weight of that past heavy karma suppressed his abilities.
Okay, here is where I have to push back hard. Because I read this and my immediate reaction was, wait, no.
I get it.
You can't just call getting crushed to death by a mob balancing an equation. That sounds completely apathetic to human suffering.
It does sound harsh.
If someone comes to you after a horrific trauma, you can't just say, hey, it's just physics. You must have done something awful in a past life. That borders on victim blaming, doesn't it? How do the scholars defend that?
I am so glad you pushed back on that, because from a modern external viewpoint, it sounds unimaginably cold. It really sounds like victim blaming.
Yeah, right.
But we have to look at what this framework is designed to actually do psychologically for the person experiencing the suffering. It is not meant to be used by bystanders to judge the victim.
Oh, okay.
It is a tool for the victim to use internally to achieve radical acceptance.
Radical acceptance, meaning what exactly?
Meaning that when you are in the middle of senseless tragedy, the human mind tortures itself with the question, why me?
Right, constantly.
We rage against the unfairness. We generate massive amounts of hatred and bitterness, which, according to this framework, just plants more rotten seeds.
Right, the kilesa.
Exactly. By framing it as an impersonal physical law, a balancing of an ancient equation, it removes the ego. It removes the narrative that God hates me or the universe is out to get me. It depersonalizes the suffering.
Okay, I see that. It shifts the tragedy from being a personal targeted attack to being more like a localized weather event.
Yeah.
Like a hurricane isn't evil, it's just a pressure system balancing itself out.
Exactly. And we have to connect this back to the Lunafula Sutta, the salt in the water, because this is the true miracle of the Moggallana story.
Okay.
His physical body, his bones, his flesh, suffered the mechanical impact of the salt. He felt intense physical pain. But his mind had been developed to the ultimate level of the Ganges River.
The water was so vast that the salt didn't change its taste.
Yes. The texts note that while his body was crushed, he experienced zero mental suffering, zero anger toward the bandits, zero self-pity.
That is just unfathomable to me.
It's mastery. He didn't ask, why me? He fully understood the mechanics of what was happening. He accepted the event not with passive, defeated resignation, but as a deliberate paying off the final debt.
Wow.
He knew this was the absolute last rotten durian to fall. By accepting it without generating new anger or hatred toward his killers, he ensured he would never plant another negative seed.
And then, he used his remaining power to hold his crushed body together just long enough to fly back to the Buddha, bow, say goodbye, and then he passed away, achieving total liberation.
Yes.
He ended his cycle of karma forever. He zeroed out the ledger.
He did.
It's a brutal story, but I understand the utility of it now. You cannot control when the massive block of salt falls into your life, but you have absolute control over the volume of the water you drop it into.
Precisely. Now, we've gone really deep into the cosmic mechanics here. We've talked about lifetimes, enlightened beings, ancient murders.
Yeah, we really did.
But the final segment of our discussion needs to bring this all crashing back down to reality.
Yeah.
How does this ancient framework fundamentally change how we should live our daily lives right now, today?
Right, because I am not an arahant, and I'm honestly just trying to navigate my week.
Same.
To do this, we have a couple more sources to look at. The Mahakammavibhanga Sutta and the Thai academic BUM model.
The Mahakammavibhanga Sutta is fascinating because it gets very, very specific. It explicitly maps certain types of habitual actions to specific long-term results.
Okay.
It removes the ambiguity. It's the architecture of daily life.
The sources list 7 specific pairings from this text. I don't want to just rapid-fire read these like a grocery list because I want to understand the causality.
Yeah, let's look at the mechanics.
Like, why do these things connect? Let's look at the first one. According to the text, anger leads to ugliness. If you are chronically angry, it physically distorts you over time. How does a mental state change physical appearance?
We actually don't even need ancient mysticism to explain this one. Modern biology backs it up completely.
Really?
Oh yeah. Chronic anger keeps your nervous system flooded with cortisol and adrenaline. It causes muscle tension, particularly in the face and jaw. Over years, this chronic tension literally changes the microstructure of your face.
No way.
Yes, it accelerates aging, degrades skin elasticity, and creates permanent scowls. The inner mental state of anger physically manifests as external decay.
That is wild. The inner creates the outer. Okay, here's another one. Jealousy leads to low status. If you constantly tear others down, the universe lowers your standing. What is the mechanism there?
Think about it psychologically. A highly jealous person cannot celebrate the success of others.
Yeah.
Because they are constantly operating from scarcity and resentment, they alienate people.
Yeah, nobody wants to be around them.
Exactly. People naturally distance themselves from someone who exudes petty jealousy. Over time, this person isolates themselves from networks, mentorships, and opportunities. Their internal jealousy actively destroys the social capital required to achieve high status.
They literally dig their own social grave. Okay, one more. Not donating or being stingy leads to poverty. Hoarding blocks the flow of abundance.
This goes back to the mindset of scarcity versus abundance. When you hoard, you are signaling to your own brain that there is never enough. You operate out of deep fear. This fear narrows your vision. You miss collaborative opportunities, you refuse to invest in yourself or others, and you alienate partners. Generosity, on the other hand, builds massive networks of reciprocity. It opens doors. The stingy person inevitably impoverishes themselves through their own tight-fisted fear.
What's crucial to understand about these pairings is not to view them as, like, a punishing God handing down sentences.
Right, it's not a judge.
Like, you were jealous, so God made you poor. No, it's physics. It's cause and effect. And the scholars have a specific name for this loop. They call it the Trewat cycle, the dependent origination cycle of karma.
The Trewat cycle is the beating heart of literally everything we've discussed today. It's a three-part continuous loop.
Break the three parts down for us.
Part one is kilesa, which translates to defilements or craving. This is your raw, untrained emotional reaction. Anger, greed, jealousy, deep ignorance.
Okay, kilesa.
Right. Part two is kama, which is the action you take based on that craving. Because you are angry, which is kilesa, you yell, you steal, you lie, or you send that destructive email, which is kama.
Oh, okay.
And part three is vipaka, which is the consequence, the result of the action, the fruit of the seed.
So kilesa triggers kama, which results in vipaka. Craving triggers action, which results in consequence.
Exactly. And here's the trap. When the consequence, the vipaka, hits you, when the bad thing happens, if you aren't mindful, that pain triggers a brand new craving, a new kilesa. You get hurt, so you get angry, and the wheel spins again.
This is literally just ancient cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes, it's CBT.
It's identifying the trigger, the behavior, and the consequence. So let me put this in a modern scenario. Let's say I'm stuck in traffic and someone completely cuts me off, clips my bumper, and speeds away.
A nightmare.
My car is damaged. My immediate instinct is blinding rage.
Okay, let's map that to the Trewat cycle.
The accident itself, the scratched car, is just vipaka. It's a consequence. It's a past seed sprouting, an old debt being paid. But if I give in to my rage, which is kilesa, and I aggressively chase them down the highway, screaming out my window, which is kama, I'm not fixing the original scratch. I'm just planting a brand new rotten durian seed for my future.
That is beautifully stated, yes. The bad thing happening to you, the scratch, is the end of an old story. Your reaction to the bad thing is the beginning of a new one.
Wow.
This fundamentally shifts your worldview. When you understand the Trewat cycle, you realize that your reaction in the present moment is the absolute only steering wheel you have.
Which brings us perfectly to the final actionable piece of our discussion, the modern Thai academic framework that summarizes all of this for contemporary life. They call it the BUM model.
It's a great simple mnemonic.
The BUM.
B.
Walk us through it.
B stands for belief in karma, accepting that actions have consequences, even if delayed.
Okay.
U stands for understanding of karma, comprehending the deep mechanics, the time lag, the salt and water, the Trewat cycle. And M stands for making good actions, actively cultivating the Bhavana 4 to expand your river.
I don't want to just leave this as a cute acronym. I want to workshop this so it sticks in your memory. Let's create a real-world scenario. Let's invent a character. Sarah.
Okay, Sarah.
Sarah works at a tech company. She has spent 6 months developing a brilliant new software feature, but right before launch, her manager steals all her code, presents it to the CEO as his own, gets a massive promotion, and then fires Sarah so she can't complain.
Wow. Brutal.
Sarah is devastated. She is a good person who just had a terrible thing happen to her. How does Sarah use the BUM model right now in her living room to survive this?
Okay, let's walk Sarah through the BUM model.
Okay.
First, B, belief. Sarah has to accept the reality of vipaka.
Yeah.
She acknowledges that this firing, as unfair and cruel as it is a ripening seed.
It's a lump of salt.
It is a lump of salt falling into her life. By believing in cause and effect, she stops screaming, "Why me?"
Okay.
And she stops viewing herself as a permanent victim of a chaotic universe.
Yeah.
She anchors herself in reality.
Okay, so B stops the panic. Next is U, understanding.
Understanding means Sarah looks at the Troy-Watt cycle. She feels intense, burning hatred for her manager. That is kilesa.
Obviously.
She understands that if she acts on that kilesa, if she illegally hacks into the company servers to delete the code or keys her manager's car, that is karma.
Right.
She understands that acting on revenge will only plant new toxic seeds that she will have to eat later. She understands that her manager, who is currently prospering, is just a type 2 person draining their cosmic trust fund, and they are planting their own seeds of destruction.
Oh.
She doesn't need to destroy him. The mechanics of the universe will handle it.
That is so powerful. It delegates the revenge to the universe so she doesn't have to carry the poison herself. And finally, M, making good actions.
M is where Sarah expands her river. She practices the Vavana 4. Instead of drinking herself into a stupor, which weakens Kaya, her physical vessel, she goes for a run to process the cortisol.
Smart.
She maintains her integrity and updates her resume honestly, which is Sila. She meditates to calm her mind and observe her anger without letting it control her. That's Siddha.
And Panna.
And she uses her wisdom, Panna, to realize her worth is not tied to that job. She uses the energy to pivot to a better company. She takes the salt, drops it into a massive river, and moves forward.
That is how you survive the muddy waters of life. Applying the BUM model gives a person what the academics call a realistic outlook. It drastically reduces resentment and societal anger.
It really does.
It encourages letting go and forgiveness. Because suddenly, holding on to revenge isn't just a moral failure, it's practically self-destructive. You realize that revenge just creates a new karmic tie that you are going to have to deal with later.
Right.
Forgiveness becomes a functional, selfish necessity to break the cycle.
Mindfulness at the exact moment of impact.
Yeah.
At the moment Sarah is fired, or the car gets scratched, or the diagnosis is given, mindfulness in that exact second is the only way to short-circuit the Troy-Watt wheel. You feel the pain of the vipaka, but you refuse to generate new kilesa.
Wow. Okay, let's try to synthesize this massive, intricate journey we've been on. We started with the incredibly frustrating paradox of the good pediatric nurse suffering and the corrupt executive prospering.
Yeah, the vending machine.
Right, but by looking at these ancient sources, we've completely reframed the picture. We learned about the time lag, that karma isn't a vending machine, but an orchard. The durian you plant today might take lifetimes to fruit.
Exactly.
We dug into the 12 hidden gears, realizing there is a complex back-end system prioritizing and functioning based on our deepest intentions and daily habits. We explored the 4 types of people and realized that the bad person prospering is just draining an old trust fund while walking blindly toward a cliff.
While the good person suffering is bravely paying off an old cosmic debt.
Yes. We visualize the salt in the river, understanding that our job isn't to build a fantasy force field to block bad things, but to expand our character, our water, so we can absorb the salt of life without becoming bitter.
Beautifully said.
We wrestled with the staggering, brutal story of Moggallana, whose body took the ultimate karmic hit, but whose mind remained an unbothered ocean. And finally, we learned how the Troy-Watt cycle and the BUM model prove that every single hardship is a choice point.
It is all a choice.
So the overarching takeaway for you, the listener, is this. When bad things happen to you and you are trying your best to be a good person, it is not a failure of your goodness. The universe is not broken. It is simply an old debt being paid, heavily diluted by the vast, beautiful river of your present good character.
It's a profound, radical shift in perspective. And I want to leave you with a final, lingering idea to mull over as you go about your week.
Let's hear it.
We spent this entire discussion talking about how the past dictates the present, how the durian seeds of yesterday create the fruit of today. But think deeply about the Troy-Watt cycle we just unpacked. If a past action creates your present suffering, and your reaction to that suffering creates your future, does that mean the exact moment you are experiencing something terrible is actually the most powerful moment of your entire life?
Oh, wow. Because it is in the absolute crucible of that unfair suffering that you have the maximum leverage to completely rewrite the trajectory of your fate.
Exactly. The moment of maximum pain is the moment of maximum power.
Oh, that gave me genuine chills. The moment of maximum suffering is the moment of maximum leverage. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep exploration of these incredible texts. We hope it gives you a new, resilient lens to view the muddy waters of life. Keep expanding your river, and remember, the ledger is far deeper than we can ever see. Until next time.